Welcome everyone to our monthly program, Little States, Big Innovation. We love to partner to continue to solidify the bridge that we're building between Israel and Rhode Island. We also love to market Rhode Island as an exceptional soft landing for companies that want to come to America. We are very connected to each other. We have a very supportive infrastructure, and we love this program. So I am the Executive Director, Tuni Shartner, Executive Director of District Hall and Venture Cafe Providence. We do this program monthly in partnership with the Rhode Island Israel Collaborative and RIHub. And without further ado, because we have a lot of ground to cover, I'm going to hand it right over to you, Avi Neville.
Thank you, Tuni, and I'll start to share my screen here. Okay. So welcome everybody. My name is Avi Neville. I'm the Rhode Island Israel Collaborative founder and CEO. And basically today we have a fantastic program. I want to thank to our Israeli speaker, Matan Fattal from IVIX, TailorMed, Christie Lee, HAKOO, Benjamin Aisenberg, and later I'll speak about our guest speaker. We must thank to our team, Annette Tonti, Tuni Schertner, Avi Malinger, Alexander Del Pico, Alison Foley, Amy Erickson, Ashley Medeiros, and Ophir Segal. Our next episode will be February 9, 21. And I will let Ophir Segal, our program manager from the Israel Rhode Island Collaborative, who recruits the companies and work with them, to say a couple words. Ophir, it's yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Avi. So like Avi said, my name is Ophir. For the last few months, I have lived here in Rhode Island. I started to volunteer in Avi's amazing organization, which is a big honor for me. I think that this organization, the Rhode Island Israel Collaborative, is maintaining the Zionist ideals into the 21st century. This is proof that Israel is a strong and powerful country that other countries want to work with. I'm calling on Israeli companies that want to grow and work with the US market to come and join us. There is no perfect place to start than Rhode Island. Thank you, Avi, for the opportunity, and thank you all. I hope you enjoy our webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ophir. A couple announcements. So we have a terrific program that's ongoing, Israeli Game Changer, Revolutionizing the World. The next one will be on January 26 at 1 p.m. And we have this time our guest speaker, Kira Radinsky. She's a chairwoman and chief technology officer of Diagnostic Robotics. This year, she's a recipient of Most Disruptive Women Tech Award in Women Tech Global Awards. And she will be interviewed by our Rhode Islander, Dr. Megan Rani, and she won by Go Local Person of the Year. And you probably see her on CNN. We done some work with her before, and I think it will be an amazing program. We have a new program we're announcing. It's quarterly. We'll be with Dr. Nir Tzup from Israel, and will be quick half an hour review of what's going on in Israel in innovation. It's a quarterly program. Another program we have March 1st for Israeli and Rhode Island companies who like to do joint research. There is funds by the Bird Foundation up to $1 million. I urge you, if you're a Rhode Island company or institution and you want to work with Israeli partners, $1 million in R&D is quite a lot of money. We have the ongoing program with RIIC and the Hispanic community, and we're still recruiting students that speak Spanish and English to the program to help to create web pages for the Hispanic community for small companies that don't have web presence. We have very happy that we are working with Commissary as a Brian Chafee Center on a virtual trade mission to Israel. We've done in the past physical one, but obviously with COVID. And I urge companies that want to explore and improve their export to Israel or start, please call Katie Terrio, the International Trade Director of Rhode Island, and she'll give you the information. Then we have some great news, and I'm so happy to say that. To those who don't know, Gina Raimondo, our governor, She will become, as of January 20, the United States Secretary of Commerce, and tremendous honor. And just to those who don't know, I was with her November 19 in Israel, and here's a picture. It's a President House with Ruby Rivlin. Secretary of Commerce is there, and by the way, the governor of New Mexico here and the governor of Michigan are in the picture as well, and the Israeli Consul General Zev Boker and Stefan Pryor. On the other hand, we have our Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. He will become the governor, and January 20, and we are so happy about it. We done a lot of programs with him, and he's was on this program as well. Tremendous supporter of building the relation between Israel and Rhode Island. And now I have the honor to have Susan Hettleman, Deputy Commercial Officer of the U.S. Commercial Service in Israel, to be our guest speaker. I met in person Susan immediately after visited in Israel with the governor. Her team is a great team. They work with Israel since with Rhode Island since 2011. I don't mention names because everybody on this team is just amazing. And Susan joined the commercial service in 2015 after 16 years in marketing. So Susan, it's great honor that you agreed to speak with us. And more importantly, your new boss will be from Rhode Island. So how timing is everything, and you'll be probably the first one to be on the program to congratulate your new Secretary of Commerce. Susan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Avi. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, of course, it's the timing is perfect. As Avi mentioned, the governor was in Israel in November 2019, and we really look forward to welcoming her back in her new capacity. And of course, she'll be ultimately my new boss. As Avi said, my name is Susan Hettleman, and I'm the Deputy Senior Commercial Officer with the U.S. Commercial Service. Avi asked me to join today because we have a shared interest in promoting the U.S.-Israel trade and investment. The U.S. Commercial Service is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, which soon-to-be Secretary Raimondo will be my boss. Many levels between me and her, of course. But and the U.S. Commercial Service, we are the lead trade promotion agency for the federal government, and we carry out our mission with support from offices in 100 cities and over 75 countries around the world. Our U.S. Commercial Service team here in Israel has had a very long history of collaboration with Avi, with Rhode Island Commerce Corporation. As Avi said, we hosted trade missions in 2011, 13, 16, and we're really looking forward to the upcoming virtual trade mission in March. I do encourage anyone, any Rhode Island companies who are interested in exploring Israel as a potential destination for their exports to please reach out to Kathy Theroux or Avi to find out more about this mission. So I'm like all of you on listening, I'm really anxious to learn more about our two companies today, IVIX and HAKOO. So I'll try and keep my remarks brief, but I wanted to speak specifically about two things. I have two objectives. One is I want to tell you a little bit more about why investment from Israeli companies is important to the US economy. And two, I'd also like to make sure that everyone is aware of the federal government's Select USA program and the Select USA 2021 Summit, which will be held in June of this year. So first, let me turn to Israeli investment. If you don't already know, Israel is a top 20 foreign direct investor in the United States. And Israeli investors have already contributed significantly to the American economy. There's a total stock of $36.6 billion invested in the US from Israeli companies. This investment supports 27,000 jobs and has resulted in total spending of $749 million on research and development. So as you can see, the value of it is tremendous, both to Rhode Island and the entire country. Second, Select USA. As I mentioned, this is a US government program, and it's designed to promote and facilitate business investment in the United States. We're lucky at the US Embassy in Israel. We have a full-time dedicated employee in our Tel Aviv office who is committed to helping Israeli companies of all sizes find the information they need to make decisions, to connect to the right people at the state and local level, and to navigate the federal regulatory system so that they can ultimately make an appropriate investment for their company in the United States. The Select USA program also hosts the Select USA Investment Summit. This year, the summit will take place June 7th to 11th. And the program this year will include 5 days of virtual programming. As like with everything under COVID, we're all working in virtual setups. But we don't think that the virtual is going to detract in any way from the significance of this program. Our team from the Department of Commerce around the world is in the process of recruiting potential business investors that will have the capability to and interest in starting operations or expanding operations in the United States. As in years past, we expect to have strong participation from the Israeli business community. And I'm sure the state of Rhode Island will be represented as well and prepared to be speaking with potential investors from Israel and other countries around the world. One last thing I want to say about the Select USA Summit this year is I want to highlight something called the Select USA Tech component of the summit. And this component offers unique opportunities for early stage and startup tech companies. So this is something that really excites us in Israel because obviously from the name of this series and the nature of innovation, both in Israel and Rhode Island, startup is a big thing. And we think this offers a great potential to Israeli companies considering investment in the United States. Select USA Tech participants can apply to pitch in front of a panel of venture capitalists and representatives from startup ecosystems from the US in sessions that will be categorized by industry, including industries such as aerospace, cybersecurity, e-commerce, fintech, medtech, and software. So again, really applicable to the Israeli market. Select USA Tech participants can also participate in tailored workshops that'll help them learn more about pitching, scaling, fundraising, and financing their startups, including sessions on investment opportunities and emerging technologies. So as you can tell, I'm really excited about the Select USA Tech component of the Select USA Summit. I'm not going to say any more because as I said at the beginning, I want to make sure that I turn things over to our key speakers. But if you'd like to learn more about Select USA, about what we can offer at our office in Tel Aviv, or more broadly, please visit our website at our US Commercial Service office in Israel, which is www.trade.gov/Israel, or the Select USA website, which is selectusa.gov. I will put both websites in the chat in case anyone missed that. I should have mentioned I'm from New York and sometimes I speak quickly. With that, I'm going to close out and thank you again to Avi, Annette, and Tuni for inviting me to join today. And thank you to the other speakers. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about IVIX and HAKOO. That's it for me.
Thank you, Susan, very much for your kind words. And please convey our thanks to your team because they're always friends of Rhode Island and we never forget that. Also, I want to make sure that it's known that the governor, during her tenure here in Rhode Island, did a lot of program to build the relation with Israel. And as a matter of fact, the RIIHub, where Tuni is Annette is managing, is an initiative that the governor helped to create and push. She signed agreement with Ben Gurion University and multiple other agreements. So I know that in Washington, there will be a big advocate to developing the business between Israel and Rhode Island. And so with that, say thank you, Susan, and thank you, the team. And Annette, it's all yours.
Great, so excited to be here today. And as Avi mentioned, I am Managing Director of RIHub, which is Rhode Island's innovation hub. It's actually the first innovation campus of several here in Rhode Island. And one of our major programs is actually working to find, and I'm going to actually add a link here. We have a Rhode Island, as we call it, the Bridge to Israel program, where right now about 15 companies have signed up. We're working through our process here, but we want companies from Israel that are interested in landing and expanding in the US to leverage RIHub because we actually will give them free space. We give them kind of access to everybody, including Venture Cafe and Innovation Studio, et cetera. In our ecosystem, we help them along, including giving them things like venture mentoring and access to IBM, as a matter of fact. So very excited to be here today. We're going to speak to 3 companies. By the way, I'm a 3-time serial entrepreneur. I'm not unlike Avi. I've started and run companies. And so to you entrepreneurs, I love talking to you. That's my most favorite thing to do. I've been in your shoes, so I know what it's like to do what you're trying to do. We're going to start today with HAKOO and Ben Aisenberg. Ben actually is the co-founder and CEO of HAKOO. Previously, he's been in the United States, spent a lot of time in Paris and France, I understand. But tell us, Ben, about and I'm saying it correctly, HAKOO?
Yeah, you say it perfectly. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's perfect. So first, thanks a lot for hosting this online event. Thanks to everyone from the organization. Yeah, actually, as you said, Annette, I spent some time in the US, and now I'm working both in Israel and a bit in Paris too, in this new company named HAKOO. So let's go through my presentation, and you can ask a question anytime you want. So first things first, the team. So basically, we have 2 founders, and I'm one of them. So about my associate, Frederick, his background is really on the tech side. He's an engineer, has launched several startups. One of them is doing more than 100 million today. He has launched several startups, including in security, and he's specialized in AI. So he's the one taking care of everything on the tech side. Few words about myself. I'm a bit younger than my associate. I did my studies in France, then I moved to the US in Boston, where I worked for a big startup named Miracle. After that, I moved to Spain, where I ended up my studies in B2B and marketplaces. And then I launched a project at Amazon in France, in Paris. Amazon Business is something the Americans know because they have it for the last 5 years, but it's pretty new in Europe and Asia. So I launched it in France. After that, I quit Amazon to join Fred to launch this adventure, HAKOO. A few words about the team. The team is both based, the tech team is both based in Israel, Paris, and also we have few members in Czech Republic because they have a great work on AI and we wanted to leverage it. So here's the tech team. And about advisors, we have plenty of advisors. Here are some of the most important. We have members of the government. We have, entrepreneurs, CEOs, former CEO of big retail industry, and all of them help us in our everyday routine, I'd say, to move forward in the right direction. As we said earlier, HAKOO is a security company with a new vision, but in a market that is well established, especially in the US. The security industry, and especially the video surveillance market, is huge, as you can see on the presentation. And we really think that's a major opportunity for us. Unfortunately, or happily, the crisis is most of the time a good thing for the security industry because people tend to want to protect themselves a bit more. So we can expect even a faster growth of this market in the upcoming years. So now a few words about our solution. As we said, we do video surveillance. So video surveillance is what you guys know already, which is basically using CCTV camera, using cameras to monitor a site. But we do really have a new vision of doing it. So how does it work? Basically, we're able to connect to almost every camera that is on the globe right now, 95%. And once we're connected to those cameras, we provide an on-demand video surveillance. By on-demand, I mean that we can look 2 hours a day for a customer, 10 hours a week, once a year, or 24/7. And we do this video surveillance by mixing artificial intelligence and human intelligence. Artificial intelligence is made by us, by our team in Tel Aviv, and also in Czech Republic. And the human intelligence that we provide is made by operators that we source all over the world. We haven't time to do a deep dive on this, but that's also a very new way of working. We try to Uberize in some ways the security industry by sourcing people all over the world, training them online to monitor and operating videos and from their home. And once they're ready, they've passed the test and the training, they work from their home and they can watch basically any kind of camera all over the world. So far, we have people in Africa, we have people in South America, we have people in Asia that help us and work with us. So that's how we can also provide a 24/7 service, and it's very, very flexible. And the service is available, all the time, and it starts at $1.5 to $2 an hour, depending on the amount of hour you buy. So that's the big picture of our solution. Why it's great? It's great because it's very easy to use. We really dwelled on the UX and UI, so it's super fast to install. Basically, you go on our website or on our app, you enter some details, spec details of your camera, such as the IP address. And once you've register your camera on our platform, you just have to choose the slot, the time slot you want our help, and when you want to increase your security. And on these times, you will have AI and operator looking at your business. Okay, what happens if there is something wrong? You decide once again. We are very flexible. The whole escalation is done by the client. I can give you a quick example to illustrate that. For instance, we're working with a huge construction company in London. They have problem of theft on their construction site, and every time we detect something, all lights on the construction site turn on. We alert all security guards on site, and we also alert the head of the security of London. But this escalation is really on demand too. The clients will choose it. Very efficient because by mixing AI and human, we really can have the best results. Today, 100% AI solutions are not accurate, and 100% human surveillance is not good neither. So we mix both. Of course, with the time, AI will get better, and we will need less human. But so far, we really mix both on almost the same scale. As I said already, it's very flexible and very affordable. So about the industries we're in, there are a lot of industries that can be interested in our solution, mainly because, we can provide this kind of flexibility that you cannot have with big security companies, such as G4S, Securitas, Verisure. We can provide a 1 week, for instance, surveillance, and that is a real, it's something that, some companies are very interested in, especially retail. Every time they have sales, every time they have special happenings. Construction site is the same. It's because it's very, short in time. Sometimes it can last 1 week, 2 months, 6 months. It never lasts 3 years. So usually construction companies don't have that many solutions. Hotel and restaurants, of course, too. And there are a lot of other industries that we haven't explored yet, but there is a need there. I'm talking about agriculture, I'm talking about real estate, I'm talking about a lot of different kind of industries that are an interest in our solution. So to give you an idea of where we are today, so we've found this company 2 years ago. We've been in our cave, developing the solution for the last 18, 16 months, and we've started testing it in the last 3 months. So that's where we are right now. The product is an MVP, so we can sell it already. It's viable, it works, and we're doing big tests with huge retailers in Europe. Especially with Carrefour, which is the biggest retailer in Europe, but also with Géant Casino and Monopoly. Partnership is a huge part of our strategy. We can partner with all kinds of industries too, camera and security device manufacturers, and security service companies and insurance companies, because all of them are not, opponents or not competitors. We are basically giving them a new stream of revenue because that's something they weren't doing before. And that's why we are, today partners of Axis, Dahua, Evasion, which are the biggest security camera security company in the world. Example of current business partnership, as I told you already, there are some beautiful names there, including Generali, which is one of the biggest insurance in Europe. So now, why we're here, except the fact that I love the US, that I spent a lot of time on the East Coast, and that I've never been to Rhode Island, and I'd like to go there. There are a lot of reasons we'd like to, develop a relationship with the state. As Ophir said earlier, it's a great opportunity to put the first step into the American market, which is definitely one of our priority, because when it comes to security and especially video surveillance, well, the US is the first market today. So we'd like to start with Rhode Island because it feels cozy to start there. And then, we have a lot of development to do, and we really need some students. So we've asked some university in Israel, we've asked some university in Paris, but nothing has been very good, I'd say, so far. So we need basically students for 2 things. The first is to help us develop our AI. I told you we develop it, and that's true, but we'd like to go deeper, and to go deeper in these topics, we need full-time students that are good on this. And we know that you have amazing schools in Rhode Island, especially in technology. We'd like also, one of the main issue with our industry, is the quality of the internet, the streamings, the hosting, everything is happening in the cloud. And we have this little box named the HAKOO box, which is a very easy piece of software and hardware that we need to design. We've done all the development, but now we need to do the industrial design, the aesthetic, I would say, and we'd like to launch a competition in an industrial design school. And I know that there is RIIC, the Rhode Island School of Design, which is an amazing school, and we'd love to launch this challenge there. That's one of the reasons we'd love to go to. And of course, there is this idea of developing our business and finding new opportunities in Rhode Island. So that I would say that are the main reasons why we are here today.
That's great, Ben. Actually, because your time is up, but I wanted you to say that because that's one of our questions: is how can we help you in Rhode Island?
I was done, so perfect timing.
Yeah, that's perfect timing. That's awesome, and thank you for that. That's what a great business and a business idea. I'm always curious, what was the moment? How did you or your co-founder decide to do this business? What is it about this business that really gets you guys excited?
Right. So first, I would say that when my associate came to me, I was at Amazon launching a huge project for them. My situation was pretty good, but I was working a lot, and I had this feeling that I don't want to spend my night working for someone that I will never met.
Okay.
And that's why I decided to quit Amazon and to launch this project. I was attracted by the adventure, I'd say. And the other thing is that the security industry hasn't been disrupted like a lot of other, when it comes to transportation, restoration, hotels. All of these industries have been disrupted, especially by this marketplace model, and the security, it's not the case. And that's the marketplace business and the industry is one of my experience, and I really thought that there is something to do there.
Excellent. That's a great background there. So it is a big market, and yet there's also a lot of players. It's pretty crowded in terms of computer vision and AI in particular. So I have a question for you. Why wouldn't you all, instead of reinventing computer vision AI and doing it in the Czech Republic or finding others to build your own algorithms, why wouldn't you leverage some of the companies that are out there, many of them that actually have high quality computer vision algorithms already? I mean, Neurala is a company I worked with up in Boston, and they're just one of a million. So what about that?
Well, that's a great question. And, basically we are going in this direction. Developing AI is very expensive.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of very good solutions. The problem with AI so far is that there are very good solutions, but for very specific cases, right? So for instance, specialized on gas leak, or specialized in fire, or specialized in theft. So what we do is that we go to all of those different kind of companies, and we try to implement their solution into our solution. It's a lot of work because usually the business model of them is not the same of ours, so we need to adapt it. But for instance, we just integrated a new solution named Evasion, which is a European solution for shoplifting in retail, which is definitely the best that there is on the market today in Europe. And we just integrated it towards to our solution. So we go towards those solutions, we integrate them, and in the same way, we work a lot with our tech team to try to have all of these solution for our customers.
Great, that's a great answer. So the question is, so you've not been around that long. This is great. You're at MVP level. You're just getting started. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you may not have the full answer to this yet, because I think it'll come as you talk to more and more big corporations and entities that need this kind of computer vision security. What do you think about how enterprises might consider the fact that you've got human beings around the world, Africa, kind of distributed, that are actually watching their, is there any kind of security issues with a human being watching somebody else's stuff? I don't know. It might be a little crazy of a question, but it just—
No. It's a very good question that we've been asked a lot. So there are a lot of under question about this one. The first thing you need to know is that today we have a very thorough process to have new operators. There are more than 17 steps. We use technology as Uber used, ID now, that will look at every ID, and use biometric, identity to be sure the person watching is the right person. We will test the email, the bank account, the phone number, everything. And once, our operator will have success in the training and will start working for us, we have another set of tools to be sure he'll be working as we expect. So for instance, we use eye tracking to be sure he's right behind his screen and he's not looking at Netflix or I don't know. We do the dead man switch, with something like a train operator will know every 15 seconds he has to put a rush button to say, hey, I'm here. So we use a lot of things like this. Then we really dwell on privacy. So, you know, today in the security solution that are offered to the public, the guy that will, you know, that from G4S that will, you know, make your house safe, will know everything about you. You know, they will know where you live, how many children you have, everything. Our guys are completely anonymous.
Perfect. Well, Ben, thank you. This has been awesome. You have a great presentation. We're excited to talk to you here in Rhode Island. We will be following up after this. So next up, we have Christie Lee. Christie, can you hear me okay? She's with TailorMed. Christie is the head of strategic partnerships with TailorMed. And Christie, take it away. And you have 10 minutes. I'm going to give you the 2-minute warning. So take it away. TailorMed.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to pull up my screen here. And hopefully everyone can see. So thank you again so much for hosting this great event. It's great to not only meet this team, but also the other entrepreneurs. So hi there. You know, we're really excited to just share more about TailorMed and hopefully figure out ways that we can support the broader Rhode Island community and patients in Rhode Island. So I'm Christie Lee, like Annette said, head of strategic partnerships, and joined the company fairly recently, this last year, but have seen some incredible growth and seen really the impact of what our company can do. And so our company was founded back in 2017, really with one mission and vision in mind, and that's removing financial barriers to care. After some, you know, very personal experiences, our founders formed the company and, you know, worked with some really incredible advisors and investors in the United States, shadowing physicians, patients, other healthcare professionals to really understand some of the core challenges that they faced here in Israel, and to figure out if that existed as well in the United States. And one of the biggest challenges that they found, unfortunately, is that a majority of Americans worry about healthcare affordability. I'm sure that's not surprising to hear, but I think, you know, as we kind of dug deeper and worked with more and more providers and patients, we found that worry can translate to some pretty hard outcomes. One being just poor clinical outcomes, and then obviously poor financial situations. Something that I was surprised to find is that medical bills or healthcare costs are one of the top reasons for filing for bankruptcy here in the United States. And then on the provider side, when patients aren't able to pay for their care, providers aren't able to get compensated. So we've seen that kind of patient-sided concern and risk really impact providers as well. And so we created TailorMed and built our solution, which is both, you know, very high tech, but also very high touch. So our solution proactively identifies financial risk within patient populations, and then addresses that risk through real-time financial assistance and resources, which are delivered by our team of financial navigators who work with patients every single day. So the technology in a nutshell has kind of 3 main components. The first is the TailorMed Financial Navigation Platform or module. And that's really the meat and the heart of our technology. It's where we're connecting directly into the EMR at each provider site and analyzing the patient population, again, to understand the patient's medical history, their benefits, and to understand what their healthcare costs are going to cost them at the end of the day. And then TailorMed Financial Insights, that's really where our administrators, both on the pharmacy side as well as, you know, the kind of in-office team, can see the impact of their work. How many patients have they been able to identify and support through TailorMed? And then how is that support translated to real hard dollars for them? And then lastly, on the technology side, we have TailorMed Pharmacy, which is a little bit of a misnomer. We don't have a pharmacy, at least not that I know of, but TailorMed Pharmacy is the module that really helps pharmacies and pharmacy technicians manage the free and replacement drug workflow, which really can be critically helpful for many patients and their families. So I wanted to go just one level deeper into how our solution works from the technology standpoint. I mentioned earlier that we work with providers and pharmacies, and we connect right into their EMR or revenue cycle management system or practice management system. Once we do that, we're constantly analyzing the patient population. Again, doing a benefits investigation, so understanding exactly what the patient's medical history is, what their diagnosis is, and their treatment plan going forward, and how that pairs with their actual benefits. By pairing those two things, we generate an out-of-pocket estimation, which helps our system understand who the highest risk patients are. So not only looking at their current financial situation, but also saying, really throughout this year, what's the cost to them? And so that's really where we can engage with patients and have that really frank but very empathetic conversation about, what their care will cost, and then figure out what real-time financial assistance is available for them. Whether it's pharmaceutical copay programs or local nonprofits that can help with living expenses, transportation, sometimes lodging and utilities, or even government assistance plans, or even sitting down with the patient and saying, this is what your insurance is today, but are there other insurance options that can help you, better, more sustainably cover your care? And then on the back end of that, we enroll patients into free and replacement drug programs, other programs, and then again, analytics and reporting. So really over the last couple of years, we've grown quite a bit. Our team is about 50 now, I think. When I started, we were maybe 20. So in 1 year, we've almost doubled. We've got 2 headquarters, one in Tel Aviv where I sit, the other in New York, and have the support of some pretty great healthcare and technology investors. Over the last couple of years, again, we've started to work with some pretty great provider partners, whether it's community-based practices across the states or large health systems like Providence Health, Henry Ford, or even McKesson. We've just started to work with McKesson to be their financial navigation provider for all of their specialty health practices. So more to come on our growth here, but probably what I'm most excited about and most proud about our company is that we've helped so many patients. Over 1 million patients have gone through our system, and we've provided over $200 million of funding for patients every day. So thanks so much. This has been a real treat.
Okay, that is awesome. Thank you, Christie. So I want to kind of make sure I understand this. Even though you're an Israeli-based company, is it your entire company's solution is all based on solving the USA's problems? No other countries?
That's right.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the United States is pretty unique, and I think it's probably not a surprise. You've seen a lot of legislation in the past year, especially that healthcare costs here are just so incredibly high, and for good reason. But a lot of that is really borne out on the patient side, and so I'm really excited to see some of the legislation come out. But for now, we are focused in the United States because we do see the greatest need here.
This is clearly a big issue for the United States across the board. And we saw recently three gigantic companies that I thought were going to fix things threw up their hands and kind of walked away from the healthcare industry here in Morgan Stanley and Amazon and the other one, Berkshire Hathaway. Anyway, so it's a complicated problem, obviously. So here's my question to you. Do you go direct to the patient? How does it work? If I'm a patient, do I find you because of one of my providers? How does that work?
Yeah, a really good question. So I think, first and foremost, we're guided by reducing and removing financial barriers to care for patients. So patients don't pay for our program, and they don't see any, really financial strains on that. So we work directly with providers and pharmacies. So patients will hear about our program through their provider.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's great. And in terms of that's but the big question to me was who pays? Like, how does that? I know that you have that really nice diagram, and I was trying to figure out without hearing you, like how does money flow here? Just a curious question.
Yeah, and in terms of our business model or kind of money flowing.
Yeah, just curious.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. And I feel like I'm asked this all the time, so I probably should have a slide about this at some point. But essentially, at the end of the day, if a patient can't pay for their care, it oftentimes means that providers aren't getting paid for that care.
Right.
And so we're getting paid directly by providers and pharmacies who, one, they believe in patient support and helping their patients, but also are, really looking to kind of reduce their financial risk.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. And Christie, we thank you for your time today. Really awesome. I know I reached out to you just today and said, hey, let's talk, because up in our region, I don't see it colored in on your map. And maybe there's some things we could be doing.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go live.
All right. Sounds good. All right. And our last but not least, Matan Fattal, are you there? Can you hear me? We're going to hear from IVIX, a company that when you go to their website says they are in stealth mode and you can't get any information from them. So the fact is we're going to be treated to some information that is not easy to get. And we're excited to have you here, Matan.
Thank you so much. So let me share my screen. So just making sure everyone can hear me, and can you see the presentation?
We can.
Wonderful. So thank you everyone for inviting us and giving us the floor to present to you what we're doing. And it's also a pleasure to see a lot of familiar faces. So thank you. Basically, we are in stealth mode, but we can share. And of course, as this presentation is recorded, I will talk only about the things that are public to an extent. So basically, let's start from what we do. So we develop technologies for tax authorities in order to deal with the shadow economy. This is our focus, and of course we'll talk about the problem and what we do in much more depth. Just a few sentences about the team. Everyone can read later on as much as you want. Bottom line, I would say I think the major part. So this is my second successful, hopefully this will be successful as well, venture. Previous one was Silverford in authentication, in cybersecurity. And basically all the team here is ex-intelligence unit in the IDF from 8200. Now it's public, you can say 81 apparently. And the Mossad, the Israeli equivalent of the CIA. Also with us as an advisor is Avishai Shachar. Avishai led the tax department, and Davis Polk Wardell, a very known a law firm in the US. And through his connection, we got to former IRS commissioners that joined our advising team as well, and a few prospects in the US also. The status of the company, we were founded at, so actually later on, more February, but December 19, we opened the company due to a tender, but the actual work started February 2020. We do have already 2 customers. Actually, it's all started from initiative by the Israeli Tax Authority. And I would say a lot of thank you here for the head, the commissioner of the Israeli Tax Authority, that is a strong believer in digitalization and adding modern solutions. We partnered with them initially and started this journey. Since then, we have another customer already and many others in the pipeline. Part of City Accelerator, actually I'm now at City Office in Tel Aviv. As it recorded and we are in quarantine, I'm not sure it's a good thing to say, but anyway, we are hosted at their office, and Microsoft Accelerator as well, AI for Good. So basically, as I said before, we develop technologies for tax authorities to combat the shadow economy. Let's start a bit with the problem and the magnitude and what is the shadow economy. So I will not take you through all of this slide. A lot of information you can later on see for yourself in depth. But basically, I would say the important figures. So the shadow economy in Israel is around 150 to 200 billion shekels. That's now in US terms will be around 60 to 70 billion dollars annually. With the rate of the dollar today, I think that's pretty accurate. And in the US terms, so the shadow economy is around $2 to $3 trillion a year, around 17% of the US GDP. Globally, it's around a $20 trillion problem. So it's a very big challenge, and you can see the breakdown. Some specific figures that I was amazed by is that this is from 2013, is the last report that the IRS officially published. In today's number, large corporation with $10 million revenue, with audits, with the big four, and so on, some of the public companies are evading actively taxes in around $50 billion, again, in adjusted number from 2013 to today. And the problem tax authorities face in order to deal with these staggering numbers, basically. So it varies, and in the interest of time, we'll cover the important ones, but basically they are lacking the tools to do it in scale, to leverage external important data sources, and also keep track with the evolving economies as of today, from gig economy and crypto currencies, which is, I would say, even a bit of a buzzword. There is even more robust challenges that they faced as the economy modernized significantly in the last few even decades, and their tools still rely on manual work. If we have time, we can cover the competitive landscape and basically what tax authorities are doing today. So what we do. So I of course blacken a bit the specific sources that we took data from, but basically we're taking specific challenges of tax authorities, whether it's crypto, whether it's classic economy, construction, movers, short-time rentals, and many others. We map the relevant data sources to help us understand both the who and the how much. We want to gather enough information when when intersecting that with the internal data of tax authority, we'll be able to, of course, understand who is behind that entity, right? To get to the TIN itself. Again, taxpayer data will only sit and be in the tax authorities realm, and we don't have access to taxpayer data. We provide them the algorithms that, in combination to our solution, basically we send all the external data internally, and then they do the intersection and so on. But they will have accurate deterministic data of who is the tax evader and the magnitude. And actually, at the beginning, we thought that we will do estimations. Basically, today, any business activity leave a very strong footprint online, whether it's their marketing efforts, the amount of employees, reviews, traffic, amount of reviews, of course, amount of traffic to their platform, whether social, website, etc. And by analyzing that, we can deduct that certain reports are unrealistic. Actually, so far, what we realized when embarking on this journey, that we are able to reach deterministic data and basically documented revenue, which is much better. Of course, we need to discuss the specific data sources and solutions that in different audience be happy to do so. So I will skip the competitive landscape and go-to-market strategy. I think that's relevant to this audience. I would summarize that our solution already deployed in a few tax authorities. Some of them are paying customers and so on. The results are remarkable. We increase revenue of tax authorities, collection from the shared economy significantly in some verticals. We identified more than 50% shadow economy in some verticals that we had assumption of it before. Now, in working closely with the tax authorities, there is amazing results. Actually, I can finish a bit early. It's a very,
No, that's good.
dedicated solution. So,
I have some good
if
questions.
you have some questions, of course. And just before, one thing that I want to emphasize, a lot of thanks to Avi and Shiu Lee that I saw also in the Colliers, that is a huge help so far, and we are honored for the collaboration with Rhode Island and RIIC in general.
So if I understand you, did you just say that you're looking to collaborate and actually work with our state, perhaps?
Definitely. So bottom line, we have one customer per city level as well, actually, but it depends on what type of taxes they collect or not, and what are the specific gaps. Some cities rely on the state actually to collect it for them, so it varies significantly.
That was a big question, yeah. Like if a state level would be good rather than the entire country, that's fabulous.
Yeah, so state level, federal level, of course, are bread and butter for us. In Spain, the Spanish tax authority is the equivalent of the state level, for example.
Okay.
In Israel is the equivalent of the federal level. But you have in the state level gaps of income tax, in sales tax, e-commerce, for example, a big challenge that a lot of e-commerce platforms are should pay. It's called the economic nexus. I don't want to go into too much deep dive, but they should pay sales tax in Rhode Island past certain threshold, and the vast majority do not do so. We spoke with a few state level tax authority, and they so much behind in the technological tools to deal with this huge gap, and those are billions of revenue loss for tax authorities.
Absolutely.
That they issued basically, I don't know the word in English, my apologies, but like they're not collecting this tax. They gave notice to people that they have another 2 to 3 years to prepare for it, because they don't have any way to enforce it at all, for example. So this is probably the #1 solution that we are pushing in the US. We see huge demand for it.
It's a mega problem, and you do have quite a I would say quite a market for doing this. I have one more question for you. So this is not anything that's going to happen anytime soon, but as new technologies, for example, like the blockchain, as perhaps let's say one day, like Estonia, a state, let's just say a state could get itself to be using distributed ledger and etc. Is that something that would change your model? Would you be able to still do the work if kind of says that the states get their act together and start to use technology to follow these things? But what do you think about that?
Yeah. So to be honest, it's a question we get asked sometimes. I would not say it's extremely common, but we did been asked that before, mostly by investors, that what if in 10 years from today there will not be a shadow economy because of crypto? First of all, gladly, that probably the one company I would be very happy to close after we solve the issue and we will live in a world without corruption and shadow economy and so on. I'm not that optimistic, but I would be happy for that scenario. Basically, I can give you example, and of course, I don't want to give grades and so on, but even countries, I would say the most advanced country in digital payment will be China. That to my knowledge, there will not even cash transaction anymore, almost entirely. Again, without giving grades and so on. The formal shadow economy is China is a bit more than 15%. Maybe in reality might be even larger. And the Chinese government officially have access to those transactions and so on to as much as I know of. The problem of shadow economy is not regarding only, I would say, and not even the major parameter of knowing who transacted what to whom. Today, you have regulation on banks. You have in the rent, in the US, for example, all the rent market will mostly rely on checks still, at least in Israel it is, and so on. You know about like dates, amounts, whom to whom, and so on. And the shadow economy in the rent space is significant. Let's put it mildly.
Thank you. I mean, this has been an awesome presentation. Fascinated to know what you know, and glad that you're already connecting up with Avi and perhaps Rhode Island, and we'll do whatever we can to help you, as a matter of fact, as your partner. By the way, thank you to everybody for tuning in today.